Last summer, I worked as a fire lookout in Washington. I was 31 and looking to escape after a brutal breakup. I thought the job would let me unwind in nature. I had camped before but had never experienced isolation like I did in that fire tower. The view was stunning, but the quiet felt heavy. At first, things were calm. I set up my supplies and enjoyed the scenery. I could see for miles. Felt peaceful. But then I began to hear something. It was a rustling noise from the woods below. At first I thought it was a deer or maybe a raccoon. I dismissed it. Still, the sounds wouldn't go away. A knot of unease formed in my stomach. During the day, I kept busy scanning for smoke. But my mind kept drifting back to that rustling. Those first few nights I slept fitfully. As the sun set, the woods felt different, darker and full of secrets. I would lie awake, the whispering sounds of the night creeping into my ears. Was it just the wind? I couldn't tell. Around midnight, the whispers began to echo through the trees. It sounded like laughter, and it sent chills up my spine. I convinced myself it was just my imagination, but my heart raced. Every time I thought I heard something, I felt frozen in place. I'd glance at the darkness outside, hoping to catch a glimpse of what was out there, but nothing ever showed itself. The days turned into a blur of noises. Sometimes, I'd leave items in one spot, only to find them somewhere else. My flashlight would be on the floor when I knew I set it on the table. I thought I was going crazy. Each time I sensed something watching me, I felt trapped. Shadows flickered in the corners of my eyes, but when I looked, nothing was there. One night was worse than the others. The whispers intensified, almost forming words. I wanted to scream or cry, but I held it back. I chose to sleep early, hoping I could ignore the noise. But that sense of being watched never faded. I felt it, even in my dreams. Then one evening, right before dark, that rustling came from closer. My heart pounded. I peeked over the edge of the tower. I could feel a presence in the shadows. An icy grip wrapped around my heart. I thought I heard my name whispered from the depths of the woods. My legs felt heavy. I wanted to run. But then I hesitated. Something inside me urged me to look again. I peered into the dark, and there it was, a figure standing perfectly still just outside the trees. Felt like it was staring right at me. I blinked, and it was gone. My head spun. I couldn't explain what I saw, or if it was real. I finished my shift with a heavy weight on my chest. I never did feel okay after that night. I still think about that figure waiting just outside my view. Sometimes I wonder if it ever really left. The next day, I woke up to an uneasy sense of silence. The forest felt different, like it was holding its breath. I scanned the trees from the tower, but nothing seemed out of place. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that the figure had lingered beyond my sight. I forced myself to focus on the job. I wanted to believe I could push through this. I spent the morning checking my supplies, arranging the canned goods, and making sure my water was stocked. Keeping busy helped distract me, but my mind drifted again to the figure. What if it was watching me still? At lunchtime, I decided to take a short walk around the base of the tower. I needed air. The sun filtered through the trees, and I let the moment ground me. I kept glancing back at the tower. I felt that it was safer up there. My breath quickened when I heard a crack, a branch snapping nearby. I stopped and squinted into the trees. "Hello?" I called out, not expecting a response. Silence answered, thick and suffocating. I turned to head back when something caught my eye on the ground. A piece of fabric lay just off the path. I bent to inspect it. It was torn, with frayed edges and a dark color that looked like it had been ripped from clothing. A chill ran down my spine. I could feel the number of unsettling thoughts stacking up, adding to the knot in my stomach. I didn't remember seeing any hikers since I started. I picked it up carefully, holding it between my fingers. It seemed out of place in this wilderness. Adrenaline surged, and I rushed back to the tower. Once inside, I slammed the door behind me. I set the fabric on the table, my mind racing. Was it a warning? Or perhaps remnants of someone who had wandered too far? I fumbled for my notebook, wanting to sketch the fabric. As I opened it, I noticed something strange on the page. There were vague doodles, figures drawn in shadowy lines. What the hell? I never remembered drawing these. They looked eerily like the figure I saw. I dropped the notebook as a flash of movement crossed the edge of my vision. My heart raced. Was it there again? I jerked my head to the side, peering out the window. There was nothing but trees and shadows. Yet my instincts screamed that I wasn't alone. I decided I needed more answers. Later, as the sun prepared to set, I found myself too restless to sit still any longer. I pulled on my hiking boots and took a deep breath. I steeled myself for what I must do next. I needed to uncover the truth beneath the whispers and the shadows. As I stepped away from the tower, the forest felt eerily quiet. But as I moved deeper, that rustling began again, closer than before. Panic seized me, quickened my pace. The woods were not just watching but seemed to invite me into darkness. When I heard it, laughter, distorted and chilling. It danced through the trees like a taunt. I froze, dread knotting around my heart. Would I find the answers, or had I just walked into a nightmare? The laughter echoed again, a cruel whisper that seemed to wrap around me. I resisted the urge to look back toward the tower. I was far enough away, but I couldn't shake the idea that the moment I turned, something might be there waiting. I took a deep breath and pressed forward. The trees loomed larger, their silhouettes twisting in the fading light. Each rustle in the underbrush sent my heart racing again. Every flicker of movement was a reminder I wasn't alone. Just find answers, I muttered to myself. Stop being scared. As I walked deeper, the laughter morphed, changing into a disconcerting melody that danced through the foliage. It seemed to follow me, carrying with it an energy I couldn't ignore. I picked up my pace, scanning the ground for anything that might help me, another scrap of fabric, a clue, anything. Then I saw it, a faint light flickering through the trees, just up ahead. It stood out against the encroaching darkness like a beacon. I approached cautiously, each step heavy with caution. The light flickered more intensely as I got closer. Was it a fire? When I reached the source, I froze. It was small, a single lantern sitting on a flat rock, illuminating the clearing around it. To one side, I noticed something dark, a backpack half buried in the leaves. My heart raced as I bent to pick it up, hoping to find more answers. The zipper was broken, but I managed to pry it open. Inside were some supplies. A water bottle, a few granola bars, and a map. I pulled out the map, hurriedly unfurling it. It was marked with various trails, but one path caught my eye. A big red X was drawn near a spot labeled Whispering Falls. Then I heard a rustling from behind me. I whipped my head around. There it was again, that feeling of being watched intensified. I was not alone. Who's there? I shouted, my voice trembling. Silence. Just branches swaying under the high treetops. My throat felt dry as I turned back to the backpack. I needed to get out of there. I stuffed the map and supplies quickly into my own bag. But as I was about to head back, I caught sight of something else in the lantern's glow. A small figure darted among the trees at the edge of the clearing. I squinted, straining to see, but it disappeared too fast. My breath hitched. I took a step back, fear slamming into me like a wall. Then everything went dark. The lantern flickered and died, plunging me into blackness. I fumbled for my phone. The screen lit up just enough for me to see my surroundings in ghostly pale light. I needed to move. That laughter returned, ringing in my ears. But this time it was different. It felt closer, sharper. The panic burst forth, fueling my instincts. I turned to run, knowing I had to escape the clearing and whatever shadowy presence lurked before me. With the map clenched in my hand, I took off, each step pounding against the damp forest floor as I raced back into the trees. Behind me, the laughter grew louder, almost like a chant. The forest was closing in, and I had no idea where to go. All that mattered was getting away from whatever waited in the night. I pushed through the tangled underbrush, branches clawing at my arms. The laughter twisted through the trees, a haunting echo that sent shivers down my spine. I focused on the beam of light from my phone, using it like a lifeline, knowing I had to keep moving, had to stay ahead of whatever was following me. Then I spotted a narrow path veering off to my right. It wasn't on the map, but there was no time to question it. I darted down the trail, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The trees pressed in. Their gnarled roots threatened to trip me as I ran. I could hear the laughter still, a mocking chorus that danced just beyond my reach. As I navigated the winding path, my foot caught on something. I stumbled and fell, the impact jolting my breath out of me. I lay there for a moment, gasping, feeling the weight of panic settle in my chest. But then I noticed something gleaming in the darkness beside me. A stone, slick with moisture, glinted in the faint glow of my phone. Curious, I crawled to it. It was unlike any rock I had seen before, smooth and carved with intricate patterns. Almost like writing, but not quite. Could it be a marker? Angling the light, I tried to decipher the shapes. They spiraled and twisted, as if telling a story I couldn't understand. Before I could study it further, a noise caught my attention. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate, approaching from the direction I had just come. I scrambled to my feet, my thoughts racing. Had whatever I feared found me? Heart pounding. I slipped the stone into my pocket and forced myself to breathe steadily. I turned back to the path, struggling to quiet my thoughts. I needed a plan. Remembering my destination, I focused on the map I had stuffed away. Whispering Falls. Whatever lay ahead, I needed to reach that spot. Maybe it held the answers I was searching for. Another faint sound made me freeze. This time it was closer, just behind the trees. I edged away, trying my best not to make a sound. Could it be the small figure I had seen earlier? I thought of the backpack, the sense of urgency pushing me forward. I had to keep moving. I stepped back toward the path, feeling the damp earth beneath my feet. That S when I saw it. Just beyond the trees, a flicker of movement lighter than the night around it. A figure, tall and thin, shifting just out of reach, peering squarely at me. My breath hitched again. What do you want? I managed to whisper, fear twisting my stomach. The figure froze, a glimmer of pale reflected in my light. Then, in an instant, it surged forward. Rushing toward me, I turned without thinking, sprinting down the path. The laughter crescendoed behind me, blending with the pounding of footsteps. Whatever it was fast, and I had no idea how far I could run. I dodged around trees, praying I wouldn't trip again. The fog rolled in, heavy and thick, wrapping around me like fingers. Then I heard a crash ahead, something breaking, followed by a sudden quiet. Curiosity almost pulled me to stop, but I knew better than to hesitate. I needed to get to Whispering Falls, whatever it took. But one question gnawed at the back of my mind. What had just stepped into the clearing I had left, and what did it want with me? The path twisted ahead, the fog thickening like a wall. I could hear the sounds of my pursuer in the distance, the laughter fading slightly but never completely vanishing. Each breath I took felt labored, a reminder of my body's exhaustion as I pushed forward, refusing to look back. Just as I rounded a particularly gnarled tree, something flickered in the corner of my vision. A light? I squinted but couldn't make it out. Cautiously, I approached, stealing glances over my shoulder, terrified to see whatever that figure was again. The last thing I wanted was for it to catch up to me. As I got closer, the light grew brighter. It wasn't just any light. It flickered like a lantern, illuminating an old wooden signpost, its paint peeling and weathered. Whispering Falls was scrawled across it, but the message below sent a chill through me. Danger. Enter at your own risk. The message was scrawled in shaky letters, almost desperate. I felt my pulse quicken anew. Was this a warning, or merely an echo of the stories I had heard about this place? I glanced back down the path. The laughter was now a distant memory, and for a fleeting moment, I considered what it would be like to turn back, to rethink this entire adventure. But I was already here, so close. Just beyond this sign was the falls I needed to find, the promise of answers wrapped in their tumultuous roar. I pressed forward around the post, feeling the weight of the air shift with every step. The trees began to thin, and as I neared the edge of the clearing, a rush of water hit my ears. I could see it now, the falls, a cascade of white water crashing against the rocks below. The beauty of it was jarring, an electric contrast to my racing thoughts and lingering fear. That S when I spotted something unusual at the water's edge. A figure, more defined now, crouched near the base of the falls. I squinted, my heart hammering. It was there, the same gaunt shape from the path. His head was bowed, and it didn't seem to notice me. Trembling with uncertainty, I took a cautious step forward, desperate to understand what was happening. "Hello?" I called out, my voice barely rising above the roar of the water. At my words, the figure snapped its head up, and my breath caught in my throat. Its eyes were wide, glimmering with an intensity that felt unnatural. "You shouldn't have come here," it rasped, the voice sending chills down my spine. I took a step back, scanning for an escape route, but the way I had come felt like it was closing in. The fog swirled around me, creating a prison of uncertainty. "What do you mean? I'm just trying to find answers." The figure's lips curled into a sly smile, one that didn't match its eyes. "Answers?" It echoed, almost as if tasting the word. "There are some things better left in the dark." Fear gripped my heart, and I realized I was not just fleeing something. I was stepping into a trap. The air felt electric, charged with something sinister, and I felt it before I saw it. A shadow behind the figure coalesced into another presence, broad and looming closer than I ever wanted it to be. I turned to run, but the falls were roaring their warning, and this time, they weren't the only ones who knew I was here. I darted toward the edge of the clearing, my heart racing. I glanced back at the figure, frozen in place now, watching me with that unsettling smile. I didn't understand what it wanted, but I couldn't stick around to find out. My focus narrowed to the rocky edge of the falls. The roar of the water echoed in my ears, urging me forward. Suddenly, the shadow behind the figure moved. It stepped into the light, revealing a tall, dark silhouette, its features hidden in the gloom. Panic surged through me. I didn't know who or what it was, but I could sense the threat in the air. "Wait," the first figure called out, its voice sharp and demanding. "You need to listen." Couldn't listen. I couldn't afford to. I took off, stumbling through the underbrush, branches slapping against my arms and face. I wasn't sure where I was headed, I just needed to put distance between me and that thing. The laughter began to echo again, a ghastly symphony merging with the falls. But this time it sounded closer as I barreled deeper into the woods. I spotted a faint flicker ahead of fire, small and flickering, sheltered by a ring of stones. Relief washed over me, but it was quickly swallowed by caution. A fire meant I wasn't alone, but was it friend or foe? Before I could make a decision, I heard a voice. "Help! Is someone there?" It was a woman's voice, strained and urgent. I stumbled toward the fire, my muscles heavy and exhausted. I emerged into a small clearing, the fire illuminating a figure tied to a gnarled tree, her eyes wide with fear. "Please, they're coming. You have to help me escape." I was about to shout at her to calm down when I heard a rustling closing in from behind me. I spun around, dread pooling in my gut. The shadows were moving, shifting unnaturally among the trees. I knew that whoever or whatever had been pursuing me was closing in. "Stay quiet," I whispered to her, backing away toward the light of the fire. She nodded but didn't take her eyes off the darkness. "They're not far behind you. They want us both." I felt a cold, familiar dread from the previous figure wash over me. What did they mean? What does it want? I asked, my voice barely a tremor above a whisper. "Everything," she said simply, her voice trembling. "We can't let them take us." Then, without warning, a figure emerged from the shadows, its gaunt frame breaking into the flickering light. Just behind it, the other shadow soon followed, closing in on us. The air thickened with fear as the shadow figures paused, surveying the scene. My pulse thundered in my ears as I locked eyes with the woman. I needed to choose, and I needed to choose fast: fight or flight, face the unknown or succumb to whatever darkness hunted us. That S when everything went dark. I gasped as consciousness returned, cold grass pressing against my cheek. The fire's glow flickered weakly in the dim light. I shot up, heart racing again. Where was the woman? The clearing felt different. The shadows loomed larger, shifting as if alive. I scrambled to my feet, scanning for any sign of her. Just moments ago, we were cornered by those figures. Had they taken her? Hello? I called out, my voice uneven. No response came, only the sound of the falls echoing in the distance. The shadows seemed to inch closer, drawing on my anxiety as I stumbled back. Suddenly, I heard a whisper. Help me. It was her voice, faint as if coming from far away. Gritting my teeth, I followed the sound, pushing aside branches that clawed at my skin. Where are you? I called out, fear knotting in my stomach. I couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. I'm over here. Her voice was clearer now. I rounded a thick tree trunk and skidded to a stop. She was still tied to the tree, but the figures were now gone. What happened? I gasped, rushing to her. They were just here. I don't know, she replied, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and desperation. One moment they were in front of me, and then everything shifted. I thought I'd never see you again. The tension in the air felt heavier, as if it was tangible. We have to get you out of here, I said, fumbling with the knots binding her. My hands trembled as I fought to free her, my heart still racing from the rush of terror I felt moments earlier. Watch out, she yelled suddenly, her voice a sharp bolt of urgency. I turned just as a shadow lunged from the tree line, its eyes glinting in the fire's light. It moved with an unnatural speed, reaching for me, its limbs stretched and elongated. I ducked, my instincts kicking in. Run, I shouted, wrestling with the last knot as I ripped it apart. She fell forward, scrambling to her feet, but I could see the panic in her eyes. The figure shifted again, its smile wide and unnerving. You can't escape, it hissed, the voice echoing around us. You belong to us. Fear turned to urgency. I grabbed the woman's arm. We have to go. Now. She nodded, and together we sprinted into the woods, the firelight fading behind us. Our footsteps crunched on the leaves, drowning out everything else as adrenaline surged. But the laughter returned, haunting and malicious, swirling through the forest like a dark wind. I felt eyes on us, watching from the shadows. They're right behind us, she shouted, her voice laced with panic. Every direction looked the same, trees closing in, the path twisting away into darkness. I could feel the shadows at our heels, the promise of their return pressing against my back. Then I spotted a pathway, barely visible but there. This way, I yelled, turning sharply toward it. As we fled down the narrow path, I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone. That's when I heard the whispers again. They were closer this time, frantic and chilling, echoing through the night. Just keep running, I urged, the darkness seeming to close in tighter as shadows reached toward us. But in that frantic escape, I had a terrible realization. Whatever was hunting us had only just begun its game. The path twisted and turned, the branches above us like skeletal fingers reaching out. We stumbled over roots, tripping but quickly regaining our balance, driven by adrenaline and fear. The woman kept glancing back as if she could sense the shadows gaining on us. Where are we going? She gasped, breathless. I don't know, I shouted. We just need to put distance between us and them. We slowed momentarily, caught in a patch of moonlight. Her face was pale, eyes wide and darting. I could see the terror etched in her features, and it mirrored my own. I looked back. The shadows had receded for now, but I knew they wouldn't stay away for long. Keep moving, I urged, pulling her along. My mind raced through options, but all I could think about was getting as far from this place as possible. Then I stumbled upon something unusual. A glint caught my eye. Wait, I said, kneeling down to examine it. It was a piece of metal, shiny and twisted, like a fragment of a disturbed boundary marker. What is it? She asked, her voice quivering. Part of a sign? I think it says something. I squinted at the symbols scratched into the metal. Before I could comprehend their meaning, a low growl rumbled from behind us, freezing us both in place. We looked at each other in fear. What was that? She whispered. I don't know, but we need to move. My instincts screamed at me to run, but another sound caught my attention. Voices. They were faint at first but quickly grew louder, echoing off the trees. Help us, join us, come to us, the words twisted like the branches above, seductive yet filled with malice. I shook my head, trying to clear it. The shadows were back again, swirling around the edges of the trees, darker and more defined than before. They're trying to lure us, I said, feeling the panic rise in my chest. We have to go. We bolted again, hearts pounding. Just ahead of us was a clearing, moonlight spilling into the space like a sanctuary. I grabbed her hand and pulled her toward it, praying it would offer some refuge. As we broke into the open, I halted, my breath catching in my throat. In the center lay a circle of stones, crumbling and worn, surrounded by eerie glowing mushrooms. What was this place? Is this a camp or something? She asked, glancing around. No, something else. A chill crept over me. I could feel the pull of the stones, a strange energy that sent shivers through my body. That when I saw it, an outline against the trees, a figure watching us. It was cloaked in night, only its eyes visible, glowing like embers. Run! I yelled again, but my voice felt small against the whispering wind. As we turned, I felt a sharp tug on my arm, the shadows closing in. They were desperate, hungry. Together, she shouted, and without looking back, we sprinted toward the edge of the clearing. I didn't know where we were headed, but staying here felt like a death trap. Then everything went dark. The world around us shifted, the trees warping and bending as if they were alive. The shadows enveloped us, pulling us into a chilling embrace that gnawed at my very core. I realized whatever wanted us, it was no longer just hunting. It was taking control as the darkness swallowed us whole. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were trapped in a nightmare we couldn't escape. I gasped for air as the darkness lifted, revealing a distorted version of the clearing. The stones remained, but the mushrooms pulsed like a heartbeat, casting an otherworldly glow. I glanced around, disoriented. Where are we? She asked, her voice trembling. I don't know, I replied. The air felt thick and slippery, making it hard to breathe. The shadows loomed, their presence heavier now, more tangible. I could see the outlines of the trees warped and twisted. As if caught in a relentless struggle, I grabbed her hand, the cold sweat coating my palms. We have to keep moving. There has to be a way out. We started walking, the earth squishing under our feet like wet paper. Strange noises echoed around us, scratching, whispering voices just beyond our reach. They felt like fingers running through our thoughts, trying to unearth some buried fear. Do you hear that? I whispered. Yeah, she said, her eyes darting. What is it? I tilted my head, straining to listen. A low chant began weaving in and out, rising and falling like a ghostly tide. It sounds like a ritual or some kind of summoning, I said, a chill crawling up my spine. Suddenly, something shifted in the shadows. I turned, and my heart nearly stopped. The figure was back, stepping closer now, still cloaked but no longer just an outline. It seemed to suck in the light around it, leaving only those burning eyes. We have to go now, I urged, pulling her away just as a breeze swept through, knocking over the mushrooms, their glow extinguished. Wait, she cried, but I didn't stop. I could feel the pressure of the shadows pushing against us, the air crackling with an unholy energy. I ran into the forest, branches slapping against my arms and face, my feet pounding against the uneven ground as we raced through the underbrush. The voices grew louder, almost desperate. Come back to us, join us, they're trying to pull us in, she shouted. I spotted a narrow path to the right and veered toward it. Our breath came in ragged gasps, our bodies aching, but the icy grip of panic surged through me. Just keep going. The trees closed in around us, their trunks looming like sentinels. I felt eyes watching us, many eyes, unseen yet watching, hungry for something we didn't understand. That when I tripped over a hidden root, falling hard onto the damp ground. Pain shot through my knee, but I pushed it aside as I scrambled up. The figure was at the edge of the trees, beckoning. "We have to move," I yelled. "Where do we go?" she pleaded, glancing back, horror etched on her features. "Somewhere, anywhere but here." With that, I took her hand and ran, knowing that whatever was waiting in the shadows wanted something from us. Something we couldn't comprehend. Then I saw it, a glimmer of light up ahead. It shone like a beacon, cutting through the fear that gripped my chest. There, pointed, pulling her toward it. But just as we reached the light, a wall of shadows rose up, blocking our path. It loomed like a monstrous wave, hungry for the warmth we carried. Panic surged again, sharper than before. "Keep running." My voice was barely a whisper now. A new realization dawned on me: this was no ordinary night. We weren't just lost. We were being hunted. The light flickered, and as I reached for it, I'm not sure what I expected. But it vanished, and so did the hope I had desperately clung to. The last thing I heard was the chanting echoing through the air, wrapping around me like chains. "Join us," and then darkness fell again. I awakened once more, my body sprawled against damp earth, the forest too quiet around me. The faint glow of dawn brushed against the horizon, tiptoeing through the trees. Disorientation gripped me, but I forced myself upright, blinking against the remnants of the night's terrors. "Is anyone there?" I called, voice trembling and hoarse, and no answer came. Only the sound of the wind rustling through the trees like whispers echoing some lost conversation. I turned, quickly scanning my surroundings. The clearing where I had fought my way through the darkness stood empty, the strange stones now dull in the soft morning light. I was alone, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that I had narrowly escaped the shadows that had haunted me, the figures whose intentions remained a mystery. Were they still after me? The thought sent cold fingers crawling up my spine. The thought of those wandering figures lingered like a ghost. With shaky breaths, I pushed myself up to my feet, every nerve in my body alive with anxiety. I hesitated for a moment, listening closely. Had I truly escaped, or merely found a temporary refuge? My instincts screamed for me to move, to stop this tormenting silence from ensnaring me. The light was returning, but it felt cold, unforgiving as I moved toward the path that twisted out of the clearing. A sound caught my attention, a faint rustle just beyond the trees. Fear twisted in my gut again. I stopped, heart thumping. Was it the woman? Had she managed to find her way back? Or was it something worse? I couldn't look. The shadows had taught me well. I took a sharp breath and turned my back to it, focusing on the path ahead. Every step felt like a challenge against my instincts, against the nagging pull of that darkness. It wanted me. I could feel it lurking just out of my sight. As I pushed deeper into the woods, I thought of the woman, the one tied to the tree. Did she escape? Or had she met a fate far worse? The uncertainty weighed on me. A fresh sense of urgency propelled my legs forward, ever more desperate to distance myself from whatever had happened here. I stumbled upon the remains of what once seemed a trail, the foliage thicker here, almost aggressive, prickling my skin, as if the forest itself repelled me. I could hear my breath echoing, sharp against the morning silence. Just as I thought I might find clarity, the rustling came again. It felt like a promise echoing from deep within the shadows, whispers calling me back, beckoning me to return. What about the stories? Had I stumbled into something ancient, something that wasn't meant to be disturbed? The thought twisted in my mind as I pushed onward, almost blindly, threading the memories of the night together, the laughter, the figures, the chanting, the dark tapestry in which I was woven. Suddenly, I broke free from the thick underbrush into a larger area. I gasped, realizing it was the place marked on the map. The words Whispering Falls seemed to bubble to the forefront of my thoughts. But as I gazed in wonder and trepidation at the cascading waters, I felt a shift in the air around me. What had I unwittingly awakened? Behind me, a voice echoed, so familiar, yet so altered. "You can't escape," it sang out, soft yet commanding. My heart lurched in my chest. I glanced back. Shadows pooled at the edge of the trees, twinkling eyes watching, waiting. Panic surged, and reality slipped into a crack of uncertainty. What was I really facing? I sprinted toward the thunderous falls, the constant roar swallowing my thoughts, drowning the whispers. Each pounding step inched me further into the embrace of the unknown. I could feel that strange energy surging again, the pull of the forest taking root in my skin, begging me to understand whatever it was that had lingered, the history that wove through these ancient trees. As I raced toward the edge of the water, I grappled with the nagging questions. Had it been real? Were the shadows merely a figment of my own unraveling mind? The falls roared, the water tumbling over itself in an endless crash. But then I heard a new voice within that noise, merging with everything else in a cacophony of sound, the shadows still whispering behind me. Join us. I reached the edge, the mist kissing my face. For just a moment, I hesitated, torn between the pull of the river's current and that consuming darkness behind me. Then, with one final surge of resolve, I leaped, plunging into the icy depths, praying that whatever awaited on the other side was better than the shadows that had taken hold of me as the water enveloped me. Chaos erupted. The surface above became distant, the whispers faded, and I surrendered to the unknown. I had escaped, but the answers remained woven within the forest, waiting for another soul brave enough or foolish enough to seek the truth. When I emerged, gasping for air, the forest loomed quiet again. But I felt that lingering weight, the haunting call of what I'd witnessed, and a deep uncertainty settled around me. I had survived, but I would always wonder what had truly transpired within those woods, and whether the shadows would ever truly let me go.